The small town of Ravens Hollow was known for its fields of wheat that stretched endlessly. Every fall, the farmers placed scarecrows in the fields to protect their crops. But there was one scarecrow in particular, placed in the furthest corner, that always drew attention. It was different, unnervingly so. Lucy had heard the stories. The locals whispered that the scarecrow was cursed, that it could move if you weren't looking. She laughed it off, dismissing it as superstition. But when she and her friends decided to venture into the field one evening, something felt wrong. The wind howled as the sun set, casting long shadows across the field. The scarecrow was standing there, as usual, in its ragged clothes. But this time it seemed to be staring directly at them, its lifeless eyes somehow more sinister. Lucy's heart skipped a beat. The group of friends, mostly amused by their own fear, dared each other to get closer to the scarecrow. Lucy hesitated, but her curiosity outweighed the warning bells in her head. She approached it slowly, the dry grass crunching underfoot. Her friends were laughing behind her, but Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. Just as she was a few feet away, the wind picked up. The scarecrow swayed, its straw arms creaking. Lucy's heart raced. A gust of wind tugged at her, sending a chill down her spine. Suddenly, she noticed something strange. The scarecrow's head had shifted just slightly to follow her movements. Frozen in place, she stared at it, her breath shallow. "Did you see that?" she whispered, but her friends were already moving away, thinking it was just the wind. Lucy wasn't so sure. The following evening, Lucy couldn't shake the unease from her mind. She tried to tell herself it was just her imagination, but the image of the scarecrow's cold, unblinking eyes haunted her. She had to go back to see if it was really possible that the scarecrow had moved. She returned alone that night, the moon casting long shadows across the field. The scarecrow stood as it always did, motionless and eerie. Lucy approached, her pulse quickening with each step. She stood there for a long while, staring at it. Then she heard something, a soft rustling in the wheat behind her. Lucy spun around, but the field was empty. No wind, no animals, just silence. She turned back to the scarecrow. It was still, but she could have sworn its posture had shifted slightly. The air felt colder, the silence heavier. Something was wrong. Lucy couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the image of the scarecrow would invade her mind, its empty eyes piercing through the darkness. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of fear and doubt. She knew she needed to go back to uncover the truth. That night, Lucy fell into an uneasy slumber. In her dream, she was standing in the field again, but this time the scarecrow wasn't alone. There were others, dozens of them, scattered across the field, their faces twisted in grotesque expressions. They were moving slowly and their eyes all fixed on her. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The scarecrows closed in, their rough straw hands reaching for her. Then she woke up with a start, her heart racing. The dream felt too real. It wasn't just a nightmare. The next day, Lucy couldn't concentrate. The scarecrow haunted her thoughts, her friends noticing her distracted demeanor. They teased her about her growing obsession, but Lucy couldn't laugh it off anymore. Something was wrong with that scarecrow. She returned to the field that afternoon, determined to solve the mystery, but as she approached the scarecrow again, a feeling of dread washed over her. It wasn't just fear, it was a warning. Suddenly she heard a voice, soft and raspy like the wind itself. "Stay away," the wind itself. The voice echoed in her mind, sending chills down her spine. Lucy froze, heart pounding. The scarecrow was staring at her again, its eyes more intense than before. She stumbled back, feeling like something was pushing her to leave. The wind whipped violently around her, urging her to turn and run. She couldn't understand why, but something told her to never come back. Lucy couldn't let go of the scarecrow. She asked around town, hoping to uncover its origins, but no one would speak about it. The locals grew tense whenever she brought it up. She decided to visit the town's library, searching through old records and newspapers. After hours of searching, she stumbled upon a newspaper article from 50 years ago. It was about a terrible tragedy. An entire family had disappeared, leaving only their farm behind. The article mentioned something chilling. The scarecrow was a tribute to the lost family, but there were rumors that the scarecrow wasn't just a protector of crops. Some said it contained the spirit of the lost father, trapped in the field to keep the family's legacy alive. Lucy's hands trembled as she read. Could it be? Was the Scarecrow somehow linked to the disappearance? The next night, Lucy returned to the field, driven by an unshakable need to understand the truth. As she neared the Scarecrow, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The Scarecrow was no longer alone. Several other figures stood in the field, their outlines barely visible in the dim moonlight. They were shaped like people, but their faces were hollow, like scarecrows themselves. Lucy's breath caught in her throat. She backed away slowly, but the figures began to move toward her. She tried to turn and run, but her legs felt heavy like they were made of stone. The wind howled louder, drowning out her thoughts. One of the figures reached for her, its straw hand brushing against her arm. In an instant, she was overcome with an overwhelming sense of dread. The figures vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving Lucy alone, shaken and terrified. The following day, Lucy could barely function. She felt the weight of what she had seen the night before pressing on her. She couldn't escape the feeling that the Scarecrow was following her, that something darker was at play. That night, she found herself back at the field against her better judgment. The Scarecrow stood in its usual spot, but something had changed. Its eyes were no longer empty. They were filled with a malevolent intelligence, watching her every move. Suddenly, the voice from before returned, louder this time, almost a growl. "Leave this place." Lucy froze. She wanted to run, but her body wouldn't respond. The air around her seemed to thicken, the wind turning violent. Before she could make a move, a figure appeared behind her. It was tall and shadowed, its form blending with the night. The figure stepped closer, and Lucy realized it wasn't a person, it was something far worse. Lucy had no idea how long she had stood there, frozen with fear. The figure's presence was overwhelming, suffocating. As it moved closer, she felt the weight of something ancient pressing down on her, like an old curse that had never been broken. The Scarecrow, still standing in the field, seemed to shift, its head twisting unnaturally to follow the figure's movement. The air was thick with dread. "Your sacrifice is near," the figure whispered, its voice a low, rasping sound. Lucy's heart raced as it stepped closer, its long, skeletal hand reaching for her. In that moment, Lucy understood. The Scarecrow was a sentinel, guarding a dark secret, and she was the one chosen to face it. With no choice but to confront the truth, Lucy screamed, the sound echoing through the empty field, but it was too late. Lucy awoke in the middle of the field, her body aching as if she had been lying there for days. The Scarecrow still stood at the far end, but something had changed. The figures that had haunted her were now gone, replaced by a heavy silence. She stood slowly, trembling. As she approached the Scarecrow, its eyes were no longer empty. They were alive, watching her with an unsettling intelligence. Lucy could feel the ground beneath her shift, as if the earth itself was alive. The Scarecrow wasn't just a figure in the field, it was a part of the land, an ancient guardian bound by a curse. She tried to run, but her legs felt like lead. The Scarecrow's presence was pulling her back, its grip tightening with each step. It was not done with her. Not yet. As the moon rose high above the field, Lucy found herself standing before the Scarecrow once more. She had tried to leave, tried to escape, but it was pointless. She had always been drawn back here. This time, there would be no running. The Scarecrow's eyes glowed with a strange, unnatural light, its form almost vibrating with dark energy. Lucy took a deep breath and stepped forward. "You have no choice," the voice whispered again, now unmistakable. In that moment, Lucy understood. This wasn't about escaping. It was about breaking the curse that bound them all. With a sudden rush of courage, she reached out and touched the Scarecrow. The world around her seemed to shatter, the field warping and twisting as the ground trembled. The curse was lifted, but at a terrible price. The Scarecrow crumbled into dust and Lucy's world went black. Lucy woke in her bed, gasping for air. The field was gone, replaced by the familiar surroundings of her room. Had it all been a nightmare? She went to the window, glancing out at the now peaceful town of Raven's Hollow. But as the sun began to set, she saw it. A figure in the distance, standing motionless in the field. It wasn't the Scarecrow, but something darker, more sinister. And in the distance, a voice whispered in the wind, "You can never leave."